Last year has been a difficult one for Matthew Andrews. According to Dorchester Report, in March of 2010, Andrews was let go from his full-time job as a FedEx manager. Then, in November, he went on unemployment after he lost his temporary job as a construction worker. With his income drastically reduced and heightened concern about how he was going to take care of his daughter, who stays with him 3 days a week, Andrews successfully applied for the food stamp program. Food stamps were able to come to Andrews' aid, but according to Gene Hovenshager, the author of Food Stamps to Meet More Need in Minnesota, 178,000 Minnesotans that are eligible are not receiving the $172 million they are entitled to. As Minnesotans, we should be taking advantage of this program. The negative stigma surrounding food stamps is unnecessary. As Walt Emerson states, fear always springs from ignorance. By increasing awareness of the food stamp program, we can become knowledgeable, learn to accept help, and put aside our pride. To become more aware of the Minnesota food stamp program, I will first discuss the eligibility requirements and application process for Minnesota food stamps. Then I will present the negative stigma surrounding food stamps. The Federal Food Stamp Program, which is now officially called the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, and the MFAP, Minnesota Food Assistance Program, are both programs that are designed to help families and individuals maintain good health. The author, Gene Hovenshager, states, the food stamp program is donated by the federal government and free for all who qualify. So what are some of the eligibility requirements for the Minnesota food stamps? One of those requirements is certain income standards. Another one is where the resident resides. And finally, family members. Bob Shaw, the author of Changing Eligibility, states, as of November, applicants no longer had to declare their financial assets, such as a house, when applying for food stamps. Income is now the primary factor. That rule change alone made about 70,000 more Minnesotans eligible for food stamps. Another qualification factor is expressed through where the resident resides. Now, of course, the resident must reside in Minnesota to receive Minnesota food stamps, but they must also lawfully be qualified to live in the United States. Another qualification factor is family. Shaw continues by expressing the previous law set by SNAP. Adults without children are limited to 3 months of food stamps in any 3-year time period. That rule, however, has been removed from the Minnesota Food Assistance Program because, as previously stated, income is now the primary factor in determining eligibility. According to Bob Shaw, a writer for St. Paul Pioneer Press, thousands of Minnesotans either don't know they're eligible for food stamps or are too proud to accept them. Are you eligible? Or do you know someone who might be eligible? Have you ever considered applying for food stamps? If yes, how do you apply and what do they look like? Provided by the Minnesota Department of Human Services, applying for food stamps can be done on their website, which I have brought up here. Your first step is to download the application, which I've circled in red. And then from this option, you have 2 options from this point. You can either fill in the information online and print it off, or you can print off the application and handwrite your information in. Then the last step is to mail it in to your local county Human Services office. You can locate that back on the Minnesota Department of Human Services website, which I have circled in red. You click the link, and it will bring you to this page. So you find your county, and they will give you their location, time, hours, and other contact information that you might need. So now that we know the application process, what do food stamps look like? Food stamps come in 2 forms. You have paper or cards. So first I'll talk about the paper forms, which are known as coupons. Coupons work just like cash. They come in 1s, 5s, and even 10s. You present them like cash at the checkout and buy your food. The next form of food stamps is cards, which are known as EBT cards. Now the one with the lake and the boat and the trees, oh yeah, that's Minnesotan's card. So how does the card work? Well, the card works just like a credit card. And according to Gene Hovenshager, the author of Food Stamps to Meet More Need in Minnesota, you can use them at Cub, Lund's, any place. According to the Minnesota Department of Human Services, food stamps are operational statewide, and approximately 87% of all food stamp recipients and cash recipients are actively receiving their benefits through EBT cards. In 2003, according to the Minnesota Department of Human Services, Minnesota served about 1,200 households, each household receiving an average of $131 per month. Why are thousands of Minnesotans not applying for food stamps? What are they scared of? As William Emberson states, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful, beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. So far, I have spoken to you about eligibility requirements and the application process for Minnesota food stamps. Now I will present the negative stigma surrounding food stamps. Ignorance is defined by dictionary.com as having a lack of knowledge, information, or education. Due to ignorance, the food stamp program is seen as shameful. Minnesotans are not taking advantage of this program because of their pride and fear. In order to overcome this assumption, we must become knowledgeable about food stamps. Reporter Rachel Zarell describes the story of Faith Scott, who has been using food stamps to help her family of 5, 3 of which are children, survive. Scott states, "There was nowhere else I could turn to," she said. "It put food on our table. What more could I say?" Thinking the food stamp program is only available for the jobless poor is also an inaccurate perception. According to Gene Hovenshager, of the 178,000 Minnesotans that are eligible and not receiving the benefits they deserve, 77% are senior citizens and 30% are the working poor. Not understanding the food stamp program leads to ignorance. The negative stigma surrounding food stamps should be resolved through awareness and overall understanding of the food stamp program. SNAP and MSAP are both programs designed to help individuals and families maintain good health. Using the food stamp program should not be humiliating for users. It is there to help. Last February, I volunteered for the Dorothy Day Food Shelf in Moorhead. Back home in Delano, I would volunteer at my local food shelf. Those two experiences allowed me to see the demand for the food assistance program. The program is designed to help individuals survive. It is a right that all Minnesotans have, so let's take advantage of it. Knowing the eligibility requirements, the application process, and finally the negative stigma surrounding food stamps, I hope you have become more aware and accepting to the food stamp program. I would like to leave you with a challenge today. Next time you go to the grocery store, keep an eye out for those signs that read, "We accept food stamps." When you see that sign, think of yourself, a family member, a friend, or someone you really care about. Think about how they can be affected by receiving an average of $131 per month. Food stamps are designed to help save lives.